Hi guys, it's really late at night, which is why I look like I'm really tired. We're gonna try and cram dinner and making this video at the same time just because my schedule will not allot it. There's not enough water in the world right now.
You're traveling through another dissection. A dissection with sight and sound intertwined. It's the middle ground between online journalism and video essay, between a liberal arts degree and the media production class I took in high school. And it lies between the pit of my stomach and the summit of my mind. You are now entering my heart, the place where I evaluate the Twilight Zone.
I've loved the Twilight Zone since I was a child. No, not the song by Golden Earring. I only like that song when it's 2 a.m. The show introduced me to the world of good science fiction writing and introduced me to what would be my love for the horror genre, showing that tales full of imagination and grandeur in worlds unlike our own could also have grounded and pointed socio-political statements relevant to the world we live in. Of course, the latter part of that statement I didn't realize until I was much older, as I was too caught up by how terrifying Talking Tina the Murderous Doll was. The show throughout my years has given me endless moralistic quandaries to explore. With The Monsters Due on Maple Street, I learned about McCarthyism and the weaponization of attitudes of prejudice. In The Eye of the Beholder, there was messages on monstrous conformity. The show even confronted me with my own mortality in episodes like Escape Clause. So, after almost 61 years since the show's original debut, the show is back with Jordan Peele being an executive producer, contributing to, as far as I am aware of, various facets of curation most importantly, but also helping craft these stories, and even assuming himself as the titular host Rod Serling cemented into the show's DNA. This is so exciting to me because if you've seen my video on Us, you know that I'm a huge fan of Jordan Peele and his abilities as a storyteller. He's proved himself to make layered and thought-provoking science fiction with the work that he's done, and I really can't think of anyone else who would be better for the role. And after watching the first 2 episodes that are currently available on CBS All Access, I can say that my excitement was well-founded, as Peele has utilized his talents to update the show's identity to modern times fluently. So, let's jump into this first episode, The Comedian. Headlining Kumail Nanjiani, the comedian from the very beginning is already political, with Kumail Nanjiani's character Samir giving a monologue which is recurring throughout the entire episode on the Second Amendment and about the regulation of firearms. Samir is a comedian, but he's a comedian who lacks jokes and confidence. He worries too much about his jokes having a message, and his jokes never end up being funny as a result. When decompressing his act at the bar, he meets a renowned comedian named J.C. Wheeler, who we assume disappeared from the world of comedy years ago. J.C. Wheeler shares that the audience doesn't care about what you think, they care about you. He advises him to put himself out there rather than trying to make political points, which leads Samir to falling into simple jokes about his dog, and it resonates heavily with the audience. He comes home and he realizes, though, that his dog is missing. At this point, he doesn't realize yet the situation he found himself in, as Samir doesn't have the commodity of knowing he's in the Twilight Zone to tip off that his reality may be bending. Although that would be a really good episode if we had someone being self-aware that they were in an episode of the show and kept trying to figure out the gimmick to their episode, leading them to just sheer insanity. You know how to pay me, Jordan Peele. Through my Patreon. The next night, he goes to the Eddie's Comedy Club with his nephew Devin. After making some jokes at the expense of him, sweet little Devin no longer exists. And it's after this point that Samir realizes that the subject of his jokes are disappearing under mysterious circumstances, almost if they never existed at all. So he then uses his newfound ability to make Joe Donner, a man who killed a mother and her child during a drunk driving incident, disappear from existence entirely. Feeling vindicated about saving 2 lives, he decides to go after the various people that he feels like wronged him in life, even going against people he went to high school with, changing the world without making political statements, but wiping people away from existence with his newfound power. So Samir then uses his Death Note powers of stand-up to make his wife's mentor, who he's jealous of, disappear. Samir's wife up until this point has been a lawyer, and now since her mentor disappeared, someone who was incredibly instrumental to her life, she is all of a sudden working as a waitress at a diner. Causing these great shifts in his life, Samir in his own way was putting himself out there, not with just his personality and humor in a positive way, but his carnal and negative personality traits have been put on a pedestal for us, the viewer, to see. The people in his life become background as he loses his family, his friends, his colleagues. He begins to realize that he'll be left with nothing. If you can't tell already, this episode's heart is about making jokes at the expense of people and putting others down to be deemed successful in all walks of life. The part when JC says, once you make jokes and the audience laughs at them, they take them. It isn't just a declaration of the elements that the episode is going to bring, but it's also about comedy and just art in general. Being fit in an hour-long episode, Samir does go through a full character arc, just in more of the traditional sense that the characters do in the Twilight Zone. Characters historically, morally devolve in this show, and we see their faults decompressed before us. But through this unadulterated portrayal of human selfishness, we can always see how we can be better people. So, this episode does this effectively. With his final monologue, Kumail Nanjiani gives one of his best performances in his career, in my opinion, as Samir, as he goes on a seemingly endless string of jokes about everyone in his life before making jokes about himself and disappearing into a literal mic drop. So from this first episode, we can probably identify some commonalities that'll remain in the show. The color grading is deliberately calculated in these episodes, with clean colors that are lit in a specific way with high contrast. It's even almost noirish at some parts with the cinematography. And Jordan Peele's opening narrations, I feel, are effective at summating both the hook that was presented in the opening minutes, but also at just setting the pure atmosphere that this show manages to have updated for a modern audience. And I was worried that that aspect with Jordan Peele would be cheesy, but it's evident a lot of care went into the presentation, and this factor of the show, I feel, is the best it can possibly be. Ultimately, though, I feel as if the core of this episode's message is about creating art. That when creating good art, something that's honest and open by most definitions, you end up straining the relationships you have. Whenever you're making something, critical reception relies on the honest and truthful interpretations of the human experience. And much like anything in life, a portrayal of human experience might be something that's more transactional than we originally think. This debut for this series explores how heavy that transaction is and the dark toll it takes on not just an artist, but those they hold dear. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this. Thank you to all my patrons who are currently supporting me. You can see their names and join them. As well, a huge thank you to Megamonse, who is currently backing me on a producer's level. Her help is instrumental to making sure that this channel stays alive. So if you want to, check out her Instagram in the description below. Thank you again. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.